Thanks, everybody, and welcome. Everybody here in the room that could attend personally, I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody attending virtually. First up on the agenda is Stephanie with Clean Ohio Round 17 update.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, everyone. I just have something real quick to keep in people's front of their minds. So around 17, the final applications will be due in the portal on Friday, November 18th. So if you know of anybody who is applying for Clean Ohio funds, please pass that message along to them. It's all on our website, of course. December 2nd, our NREC members will meet at 9 a.m. here to go through those applications and to make sure that they're complete with regards to what our district specifically asks for. Because if you have ever applied for OPWC funds through the portal, if you don't have specific documents that we've already uploaded, your application doesn't go through. So 3 p.m. is the deadline, November 18th. And if you don't have those critical attachments, then your application will either be kicked out or not even submitted. So again, reminder, we have $2.98 million for our district. If you have any questions with regards to projects or the process, by all means, please email me or give me a call. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Okay, the next item is going to discuss the Ohio Public Works Commission District 6 Round 17 funding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the District 6 Public Works Integrating Committee met just a couple of days ago on Tuesday. It was our final meeting for this round of funding. And the committee confirmed the points that were scored to all the projects so far this year. And then they drew a cutoff line for grant funding. So the table we have here is the results of round 37 funding, which will be available July 1st next year. This top group of projects is all grant projects. You can see as I scroll down, we have 8.8 million in grant money for next year that we're doling out. The next group of projects is loan projects. We have 3.9 million in loan projects. And then we have a group of 6 small government projects. These 6 will be submitted to Columbus for a chance at funding in the springtime. We won't know till early May whether we usually get at least a couple of them. Last year we got 5, so never know with the small government program. And at the bottom of the list is the 4 projects that were unfunded this year. If you add up the total projects, this is grant and loan projects. I'm not including the small government projects, but the total project cost is $31.6 million for these projects. That just shows how much of a local share these communities are putting into this program. Huge local share. So now that this decision has been made by the committee, it was sent out to everybody. Final applications for these projects is due December 16th. It's a Friday. These applications are now done electronically through the WorksWise portal. The application needs to be filled out, and then all the attachments need to be uploaded electronically as well. If any of the communities would like assistance with this, let me know. I'd be happy to come out and help guide you through the process. And then all these projects will be submitted to Columbus in January for their review. So 57 projects were submitted this year, and we got 46 of them funded through grant and loan, and potential 6 others through small government. So Ed, I think we did very well this year. Any questions or comments?
Question, the skip LTIP splits, do you have that figured out?
No. That I'll figure that out probably in the next month or so, and then that will determine which projects wind up on the contingency list. I mean, chances are you may end up on it. Since you have
Starting to get used to it, yeah.
You have like a really high dollar amount project low on the scoring list, so. But I mean, there's still a lot of projects out there that aren't closed out. A bunch from 2021 that aren't closed out.
Okay, the
We
loans
get
are
those-
all 100%. There's no contingency on those, correct?
Right, yep, the loans there won't be any contingency on top. Just maybe a few on the grants. Any other questions? Hey, thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, next grant is going to discuss the Safe Routes to School program.
Hi, morning, everyone. I'll do a quick overview here of the Safe Routes to Schools because it's actually expanding this year a decent amount. We're adding in a lot more funding and some new opportunities. So Safe Routes to Schools has three different funding types they have. They've got their infrastructure, which includes any type of actual projects that will go in. It does include, getting into design engineering as well as construction. You do non-infrastructure projects, which includes a lot of stuff that are more about the community of the schools. There's also school travel plans, which is putting together a document that will go over what your school needs within its transportation, trying to figure out more about like what students are walking, how they're getting to school, what they need to be able to get to school safer. So to apply for Safe Routes to Schools, any infrastructure projects have to be in the public right of way, or at least it's a little bit there. You can get from an easy gets for right of way if it's through agreements with local private entities or if a school owns it. Any of the projects have to be within 2 miles. One of the big changes actually is in the past, it's only been for schools up to 8th grade or combined schools. High schools are now actually an eligible location, or they weren't. You have to have a school travel plan for any of the infrastructure, non-infrastructure projects, going into why you're doing that project. That said, a comprehensive plan, active transportation plan, long-range travel plan, any of these different planning documents can count as long as they do have a specific partner that's involving the schools. We're talking about the schools. They have to have been updated within the last 5 years, and they have to have infrastructure, non-infrastructure recommendations. Also, you need a 2-mile map showing bike pedestrian crashes, showing where the students are. They want to look at schools mostly where that 50% of the students live within 2 miles, so that the walking, biking is a bigger impact, or at least 250 students should be within that range. That is, they say, just to be competitive. There's going to be some forgiveness on that towards rural students, or possibly can add a lot more if the schools don't even have that many students or spread out. There's still opportunities for them. They do want to have information on walk bike rates and caregiver input about how many students are walking, stuff like that, surveys. They do have example surveys right on their website that can give you a lot of information, or can even be used directly to go to the teachers or students. And some of the stuff they do is, they suggest like having when students coming in the morning, having a teacher out there that's just asking students and stuff like that, and specific questions that they give some great examples for. So different project types. Your infrastructure projects, it's a $500,000 maximum, all phases with no match on this. It can cover the sidewalks, your bike facilities, shared use paths, or any type of crossing. Anything that will make it so that students can get to school easier. Your non-infrastructure projects are a $60,000 a year, which you're actually allowed to apply. The new thing is you can apply for a 2-year project. This stuff like the walking school bus programs or bike rodeos or anything that sort of promotes this bike and pedestrian safety and positive nature within your community, still tied somewhat to the schools. The non-infrastructure project is designed to be a startup, not something where you apply every 2 years. It's designed to just sort of get off the ground. Because it can be used for stuff like purchasing a bike if it's going to be used, or educating students. So, important dates. A new thing this year, which is why this is being mentioned out a little bit earlier than I normally would have, actually is applications. They are actually doing 2 rounds of applications this year. One of them is due on December 9th. That's just for the travel plan. And then in January 6th, the full applications will open with a March 3rd close. That's for the school travel plans, the non-infrastructure, and the infrastructure. Laz is helping out. I think they're hoping that some people will be able to potentially even get through getting a school travel plan put together, or updating a school travel plan to be able to apply again by March. June will be notice of awards. Anybody that applies, will have a meeting with them in April as well, so we go over their projects. Important file notes is district coordinator is Chris Surma. They highly recommend that you keep in contact with them, let them know what you're planning on applying for, get them your plan, your school travel plan, or relevant documents to make sure that it does going to work. There's not going to be issues there. One of the requirements is a support letter from your MPO. Feel free, if you want to apply, reach out to me. We'll make sure we get that. And also, we have a lot of support. We do have stuff on our website, which I will put in a direct link, but to make sure everybody can find it, go from our website, under programs at the top, transportation, safety planning, safe routes to schools. This brings up a quick overview of the program that we have put together, and a little planning tool here to help out, which is maps put together that are showing all of the bicycle and pedestrian crashes that occur within 2 miles of basically, I think, every school within our 2 counties. I actually upgraded this year so that now you can actually select a school district. So you can select whichever school district you want. You can select a school, and it'll come up and show you where all the crashes were at, what type, break them down by the years. If you don't see your school or school district show up in there and you look at it, let me know. The way the data is set up, if a school district doesn't actually have any crashes within 2 miles, its name doesn't end up appearing in the list. So it could be that, or it could just be that I had to get a data set of all the schools from the state. Maybe there was something there that was missing. So if you don't find anything, let me know. And that basically covers it for the safe routes to schools. I did want to bring up one other thing, though, which hadn't been mentioned, which is the systemic safety planning. So we're waiting to find out more information. It looks like they're just going to roll with the program being basically the same as it was last year. Applications are going to be due January 31st for up to 2 million for pedestrian projects, 5 million for roadway departure projects. These are designed to be your smaller fixes that cover wide areas. The big requirements are, it has to be a functional 3, 4, 5 road. Last year, they had some more requirements. Looks like they're using those requirements more as a health scoring metric if it meets those requirements. I have all of that stuff already mapped out by every single community. So if you have some interest in looking at any type of pedestrian improvements or roadway departure improvements, talk to me. We'll see what we can find that will qualify and what would need to be done for it. Any questions about either one of those? Yes.
Can we use that as our 2 mile map right there? Or do we still do the whole circle map that ODOT wants? Is enough?
Potentially it would be. I mean, there's not really any requirements on what they want. If not, I mean, the data is already there. We can get it put in something just a little bit nicer if you need it.
Yeah, Grant, are those important dates on the website?
Those important dates are not on the website yet, but I'll be getting them.
Okay, because I've been getting some questions from some of the communities. on the safe routes to school. Let's direct them to that.
Yeah, I'll get that.
You'll call.
Definitely good to get the call anyway, since the letter of support and then
Okay.
there to make sure. I know that the new school travel plan date is not up there because that's a new thing that was added just recently. But yeah, make sure that the rest of those dates are actually up there.
Now, the school travel plan funding, is that updating an existing plan? Is that eligible cost?
Yes, updating or creating a new one, because your plan has to be done within the last 5 years, so updating it, the options with the school travel plan is either having one of the ODOT consultants come in to do the project or bringing in your own and being a reimbursement cost from them.
I don't think it'll be done in time for a spring application though. So if you apply for safe travel plan funding, you have to wait till following year to make an application with it.
There's TAP coming up, so I know that those are your two sources of funding. I deal with the TAP, safe routes to school. If it's eligible at 100%, I try to direct all the committees to go after that if it's within that 2-mile radius of schools. I'm glad that they're expanding the funding and including high schools too.
Yeah.
That brings a lot more areas into eligibility, so it's good. Okay, thank you, Grant. Now Stephen's going to discuss the 2050 MTP project list.
Thank you, Gary. Sorry, everyone, forgot to get that screen up. Okay, 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Justin and I, we've both been talking about this for quite a while now. But we're getting farther into it. Before it was just, hey, this is what we're going to do, but now we're kind of showing you some stuff and what we are doing. Just a quick reminder, always good to reference what the MTP is. It's really the basis of everything that we do. It's kind of the starting point. It shows us what we're going to do over the region for the next 20 plus years. And it's the starting point for, the stuff that Ed's talking about, the stuff that Grant's talking about before. It's kind of your first step to getting a project implemented. Mentioned this one before, just a quick slide. 3 main focus areas. All the projects you'll see from our list, really what we're focusing on. We're trying to make our region as good as possible. And these are really the 3 things that we're focusing on. Reminder that August 31st was the submittal deadline. We received a bunch of applications. Apologize, got in a little bit late. The whole project list is over on the table over there. Encourage everyone to grab one on your way out. Difficult to show up on the screen, so the collection of hundreds of projects is in that packet there. Check it out, review it, get into it a little bit. But a reminder of how we do it, we break down this project list by short-term, midterm, long-term. Short-term is stuff that's already programmed, has a PID, has funding attached, we identify it. Midterm is really what we're looking at. This is stuff that we kind of know is coming. It doesn't have funding yet. We expect it to have funding soon. We're just not there yet. It's stuff that the locals are really pushing, really planning on having. Long-term, out there a bit, still something we expect to happen, but that's where we start to get to, well, these are just some ideas. This is stuff that maybe if funding comes around, maybe if things change a little bit, that's really what we're looking at with long-term. So here's a recap on kind of what we received. Short-term, again, is the stuff that's already identified in our TIP, our Transportation Improvement Program. We currently have 63 projects in there, just north of $60 million with our funding sources. Then when you get into mid and long term, you see 184 new projects that were submitted to the MTP, well over 400 million in total projects there. I'll go into a few of them as examples on the next pages, but again, grab one of the forms on the way out. If you want an electronic copy, reach out to me. I'll send that over as well. We'll probably get it attached in the minutes also. So here's just a few of our upcoming ones. These are ones that everyone in here, everyone's probably heard of, heard about, we've talked about over the time. Just to focus on a few, the DDI that's going on, big interchange coming, kicking off kind of in the spring, State Route 46 and State Route 82. avoid the area. Nothing really more that I could say over the next couple of years, Gary, unfortunately for you, making your way down. TAC meetings might start at 10:30 because we're not gonna be able to get Gary here in time, but, another one.
Office here, that's all.
Yeah, we got some room. Next one on there, the Stavish Trail, in Lowville. This is something, the trail's been there. They're working to kind of reconstruct this, bring it up to speed. It's a long stretch. It's a big project. You see phase one on there. If you see the project list, you'll see the other phases as well. We think that's going to be a 4-phase project. I expect to see more from it. Another one that we do through our CMAQ program a lot, Nile signal upgrades. We like to do signal projects, coordinated signals specifically, reduce the congestion, get everybody flowing better. And then finally, one out there a little bit further out in 2026, Glenwood Avenue Road Diet. Mahoney County Engineers got this project, a good collection of funding sources going on there. That's going to be a good one that I'm sure we'll highlight as we get closer. That's one that we like to show off. It's not just a single funding source that's doing a simple project. We're going to have upwards of 5, 6, 7 different funding sources that go towards that. The midterm. So here's ones, again, like I mentioned, these aren't projects yet. They could be studied. They could be really good ideas. They could be just waiting for that right funding source. First one on there, East Federal Street improvements. I talk all the time about the Smart 2 network of projects. You guys saw it all coming in with the streets just last month. It kind of gave an update on where we are with that. This is kind of City of Youngstown's looking at East Federal Street, kind of from our building heading east, what to do next, kind of tie it all in. And that's kind of what we talked about going back to the beginning. The Smart 2 network of projects was kind of central downtown, but it's going to expand out and it's going to reach all the other communities and kind of touch on them that way. Next one, Trumbull Metro Parks. There's a trail restoration idea that's come up over many years. We've had CMAQ funding over time to install new bike paths, trails, but there's not any funding that's attached to restoring them, repairing them. You see a pretty big cost estimate there. Not something that the Metro Parks can just take on by themselves. So that's a good one to get there. Like I mentioned before, other funding sources that can come up. That's where we want to identify it so that we know and we say, hey, this is a perfect one that can fit. Next one, Gary just mentioned, Graham was talking, our TAP program, Transportation Alternatives Program. That's really geared towards pedestrian safety. And here's just one example of an idea to put some sidewalks in a business area, make people, travel safer or choose to walk rather than ride their vehicle. And then last one, Jim's mentioned this, almost every TAC, anytime something comes up about what we're looking at, different project initiatives, the Interstate 80 and State Route 304 interchange over in Liberty Hubbard Township. This one, I put on there multiple sponsors. There's going to be a lot of buy-in from different communities there. And, that's what, when we reference our Yes Streets initiative and stuff on the east side and kind of what we see as big changes over there, that's what that project entails. Now, just a couple that are way out there that are great ideas, but again, nothing that's happening in the next couple of years. City of Campfield submitted for the Village Green one-way street conversion. This is a pretty neat idea. 46 right there, 2 lanes on both sides. And the idea is, hey, let's just convert it, make things a little bit more accessible and go one way. Just an idea. We're not anywhere yet. Mill Creek Metro Park's an idea for a bike and hike bridge over Shields Road. They see some issues there, congestion issues, safety issues, and hey, we can possibly have some funding in the future and make things better for our bicyclists and our walkers. Village of Lordstown, downtown streetscape. Again, with our TAP program, we're really focusing on pedestrian safety, but you also just can do some enhancements to make the area better, nicer, more appealing, more walkable. So there's just a lot of improvements there. And then finally, I didn't mention it with anything else. Everything else was a unique project, but North River Road resurfacing from Trumbull County Engineers. as just one example of our most common project that kind of goes through me and our programs, are resurfacing. I mean, our roads are potholes. We're getting to that time of the year again where everybody's going to be complaining about the road conditions and potholes everywhere. Those are the projects that we get in there too. We identify those resurfacings, and that's what fills out a lot of our program as it is. So a lot of information. Again, grab a project list. Everything's there. All of these plus 150 more. So check it out. Talk to me. Here's my email contact. Again, Justin's really the one leading the charge thus far on the MTP. Any questions regarding any of it, let either of us know. Any questions on the project stuff you guys saw today?
Great. Thank you, Stephen. Okay, next, Justin is standing in for Kathy to provide an ARC update.
Morning, everyone. So I'll try and do Kathy justice. She's a tough one to fill in for, and she apologizes for not being available. Obviously, she has a great deal of excitement about a lot of the news with the Appalachian Regional Commission program, particularly what's happening in Ohio. So you've heard her talk about something called the Appalachian Community Grant Program. House Bill 377, the Ohio legislature passed, announcing $500 million available for projects through 2026. So quite a great deal of funding being made available, and the guidelines are out and available for everyone to see. Those are up on our website. They're up on the Ohio Governor's Office of Appalachia's website as well. We are working on kind of setting a web page specific to this program on our own website, where we'll catalog all of the information and have that as kind of a central resource for folks to go to know what the program is, understand what's eligible for it, who's eligible to apply, and also maybe some collaborative aspects where we could start piecing projects together. So a big component of this funding is that projects are regional, and they are emphasizing transformational and an emphasis on planning. In round one, which the grant period opened just yesterday. Some of you that receive emails through Ohio Department of Development or the Governor's Office of Appalachia would have received the email blast with that announcement. The grant period opened yesterday, and grant applications are due December 9th. So it is a full-on sprint to kind of figure out where we're all at and make sure we get some good projects in. We held an information session just across the street, and I see some folks that were there in person, and if you weren't able to be there in person, we also hosted it live on Zoom, which we have a recording of and will make available. So if anybody didn't get a chance to tune in, that information will be out there. The focus areas for this program, I think, are really important because this is what your projects will need to be built around. Restoring downtowns, improving community health, and rebuilding the local workforce. So taking into consideration those, the emphasis on planning, the emphasis on projects being regional in scope and not necessarily isolated to single communities or kind of small scale efforts. All of that will go into making a successful project. In that round one, so we're talking about planning and we're talking about development. There are two pots of funding available. $30 million is being made available for planning and $250,000 cap per county. So another thing just to keep in mind as we're all thinking about projects and working together is how we could best utilize that funding cap at the county level. On the development side, there is $50 million worth of funding available for development projects that are ready to go. The big caveat being that you have to be shovel ready for your project within 90 days of being allocated those funds. So really have to have something in the hopper that is well advanced and ready to move on. And any of these ideas, if you've got ideas or if you've got some projects kind of in the waiting that you're just looking for a funding source to apply to it, please reach out to Kathy. She's kind of cataloging all of the local activities or ideas that people have. And we're trying to keep everything organized and be able to match up projects that make sense to maybe apply together so that we have a more regional ask. And I know obviously a major focus area for our agency is the Mahoning River Revitalization Project. That will likely be something that we look to acquire planning funds through this program for. I think the specific mechanism has yet to be decided, but all of the community's partners will be engaged through that process, and we'll make sure to keep everybody in the loop and a part of that project. Two other things, the scoring rubric. This is a competitive process. So this is available for the 32 Appalachian counties of Ohio. That's a good thing because it's not a nationally competitive program. There are 4 local development districts in the state of Ohio that kind of cover that service area. So the competitiveness is a bit limited, but when you announce $500 million available, everybody comes out of the woodwork wanting a piece of that. So just to keep in mind that this will be a competitive process, so projects need to be of high quality to compete. And there is scoring criteria available in the guidelines. So if you're interested in the fine details of that, I encourage you to go through the program guidelines and really pick out the elements that they're emphasizing and what they're attributing points to in the applications, so you can put something successful together. The projects will go through the Governor's Office of Appalachia and their controlling board for final selection. The timeline for this, it is ARPA dollars. So if any of you are familiar with that, there is a end of 2026 calendar year deadline on those projects need to be complete. That kind of puts this element of time into this process that I think could make things extra challenging. Obviously, anybody that has experience in project development world knows that things take time, and putting kind of a firm end that's not too far off in the future can be challenging. So again, they're emphasizing planning very heavily, I think, to counteract some of those challenges. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I see Joanne in the back. She is very knowledgeable about this program as well. And, encourage you to get in touch with Kathy if you've got project ideas or questions about the program in general. Any right now, anything?
The Mahoning River revitalization that we're emphasizing, that includes talking about like bike trails, kayak launches, other like outdoor recreation along the river.
Yeah, 100%. I think the Mahoning River project, as we're emphasizing it, hits all 3 of these criteria areas that the program is built around. To us, it seems like a tailor-made project for this specific program. So you've got downtown revitalization as the river runs through all of the river communities. You've got community health, so there's active transportation elements with trail development, as well as kind of maybe park development or other aspects of community improvement that deal with kind of social determinants of health. And then there's a workforce component. So working with some of our other partners that are focused on issues of housing or workforce training or other elements that tie in, we think we can build a project around all 3 of these focus areas. But that involves every community along the river. It involves other partners that are working in that space. Bring everyone together into this singular effort. Thank you, everyone.
It's a lot of information. Thank you, Justin. Okay, now we're down to the executive director's report. Jim.
Thank you, Gary. Excuse me. Great explanation on the community program from ARC, and we're hearing from a lot of communities that are very interested in it. Again, I think us creating some sort of springboard on our webpage to gather thoughts, gather ideas from other communities, try to pair them up, see what fits, what doesn't fit, and help the communities will certainly make better applications as we put in for this money as a whole. Again, I strongly encourage and reinforce what Kathy has said and Justin's commented today. Please try to involve us. We're here to help. We want everybody to be successful. And if there's opportunities to pair up with Eastgate's application, and we're looking at other applications to put in for our 3 counties, we're going to take advantage of those, and we want to work with all the communities. So appreciate that. Just a couple of, I have a handful of things that are all over the place, but I think it's important to continue to update our communities. Two other grants that are being made available through Appalachia that we are getting ready to apply for. And these are two federal programs. One's Ready Appalachia that we're going to put in for technical assistance. As you can imagine, trying to sort through all this information and be better stewards for our communities, we need additional help. They're making money available up to $100,000. Again, federal programs, so we're competing against all the other states, asking for technical assistance to bring on either consultant support or the ability to have a contract employee to assist us with grant writing, grant opportunities, and opportunities to get out into our communities even more than we do now. We'll be applying for that here by the end of the year. A second one is there's an Arise Appalachia that is a program that encourages states to work across state lines. We have been talking with our partners to the west in Pennsylvania about some type of housing strategy and a repopulation strategy. And that kind of fits that mold of what the guidelines were for that type of federal investment in ARC. More to come. We have a little bit more time to build that out. But since I did touch on it, I think it's important to call more attention to an initiative that Eastgate is diving into, and that is a repopulation strategy. Wherever we go and we talk about economic development, you hear people talking about they need workers. They need workers. Just this morning, a handful of us were at the economic forecast breakfast at the chamber held out at the Eastwood Event Center. And I apologize, we're cutting it close, getting back, but we made it. But there was a lot of focus on the opportunities with the businesses coming to the area, the supply chain businesses coming to the area, but real concern with workers. And that's just not here. That's statewide, that's across the nation. Where are the workers going? There was a forecaster in there that spoke from First National Bank and just said people had many slides of why we're in this position, but the real focus was people at a younger age of retiring, end of discussion, and not going back to work. So if we want to be where we want to be with these businesses coming to this area and being successful, we have to work on a repopulation strategy. Excuse me, my voice. And a population utilization. So taking advantage of the workers we do have and making them, training them to get them ready for work. But we really have to focus on bringing more people into the area. That strategy includes keeping the younger people from leaving the area, but bringing people to the area. I think the number is 7 people a day leave the Youngstown area. It's amazing. So if you go back in the days of the steel mill, 160,000 people in the city, and I'm just talking about the city, it kind of echoes out throughout our whole region here. 160,000 people in the city, there's 60,000 now, so we've lost 100,000 people. So we are going to look at a repopulation strategy, and that strategy would include immigration possibly to bring people into our area to repopulate the city so we have more workers. But it's also going to focus on utilizing the population we have and getting those people to work too. It's interesting, when we do bring this up, you know, we've gotten accolades from down in Columbus, and we've been in a couple conferences in the last couple of weeks, many of us in the room. And when we talk about a repopulation strategy, everybody goes, wow, you know, where are you going with that? It's news to them, but they all think that's a great idea. So we want to be on the forefront of that. We're going to work with a company up in Cleveland. It's brought Ukrainian immigrants over in the past and possibly look to start immigrating those families here to the area. Then the challenge would be a housing strategy and then populating the cities, not just Youngstown, Warren, all the cities and our communities. But we're really in the infancy stage of that effort. But we really like to accelerate that. I mean, we've had Foxconn tell us they possibly can need 4,500 workers in the next 5 years. So where are those workers coming from? And if we're going to continue to attract the supply chain that Foxconn's going to need, or Altium's going to need, or any of these companies are coming. Somebody's looking at a BDM property right now that has nothing to do with electric vehicles. So it's a good place to be for a region when we talk about businesses moving in and economic development, but we really have to start to focus on repopulating and building a workforce. Two other grants, I'm going to continue to shift gears. Two other grants I want to talk about that we put in for through the IIJA program, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. We're still waiting to hear on our Safe Streets for All, and we put in the initiative. That was one we had the workshop, I believe, in September. And then we also put in for a Connecting Communities grant that IIJA made available, which is really unique. It's where communities have been torn apart because of the interstate. We don't have to look much farther than to the north in Madison Avenue Expressway and how that separates the north side from the downtown. We put in for money to study possibly eliminating the interstate and making a 2-lane road through there and kind of softening the grade to make more available for green space, possibly development, but really a reconnection of the north side with the downtown area, really focusing on the university and focusing on Mercy Health and making that connection even better. It's one of those programs, I've been doing this a long time. I've never heard funding available for something like that, but that IIJA program, federal program, really has some kind of unique and quirky programs. So we're going to chase that. It's available, so we submit it. We'll see how we do with that. An EDA grant that we just submitted was with the Mahoney County Engineer, partnering with them, assisting them. It's their grant, but it's the Mahoney Avenue, Bailey Road, Commissioner Drive. Yeah, that area, Rosemont. It's sort of a loop, very, what we say is the grant's very similar to the Golden Triangle in the Warren Holland area, where it's really about economic development, improving the infrastructure to continue to let businesses grow. We're asking for $2.5 million from EDA. We've actually had a letter back for additional information, which is a very good sign. So we're very hopeful on that and appreciate just supporting the county engineer on that initiative. We're wrapping up and working with a consultant on a regional utility study. They've moved that to, and I've been talking about this for a long time, but we finally are moving into a stage where the consultant's reaching out to water suppliers, water users, and then communities that pass water through. They're trying to build a coalition. What we hope to have by the first of the year is a group that meets and talks about what's good, bad, and how we can get better when it comes to resources for water and wastewater. There will be a component that drops to electric, but the real challenge for businesses coming to the area is getting communities to work together when it comes to water and wastewater. We've had great response from all the communities and suppliers about participating. So more to come on that. That's a major hurdle. But they're going to go through that and develop focus groups, and we hope to be able to report out great findings, I would think, first quarter 2023. I referenced that we were out and about. Steve Zupik was down at OTEC, presented with Michael Baker on our Live Zone initiative. We're wrapping up that draft report that talks about possibly attracting money and then investment and then businesses to grow the area around the Lordstown region. And I don't like city village of Lordstown because it's the region. It's Warren, it's North Jackson, it's Youngstown. That findings are going to be out in detail, I would believe, by the first of the year, but an opportunity to present to OTEC and be part of that. That conference draws 3,500 people. We certainly didn't have that many in a room, but just be able to talk about what we're doing here and showing and really showcasing the efforts of this valley will make a difference. I had an opportunity to attend the National Association of Regional Councils in Kansas City a couple of weeks ago. Then I went, we were at the Association of Metropolitan Organizations up in Minnesota just last week with Justin and Eric, and they presented on our communication plan and our Citizens Advisory Board. I will tell you, we've been talking about the Citizens Advisory Board, and everybody goes, when we go to these conferences, they're from all over. They're turning around and saying, and they never thought of that. So I will tell you that when we did kind of get back and kind of decompress about some of these conferences, hats off to this group in our efforts to work with our communities. When you go to these national conferences, they're once a year, you're with many of your peers, but from bigger agencies. And I will say, I think our cooperation, our communication certainly ranks up there in the top when you compare to other agencies. And then you see what other agencies are diving into and what we dive into. I think we times them by 10, we're all over the place and we're being successful because of the help in this room, the virtual assistance we have from our communities, but it makes us feel good. But we also bring back new ideas and other opportunities. We're going to sit down with the Department of US DOT at this last one, talking about additional funding opportunities. When we were in Kansas City, similar communications with FHWA and just really looking for other grant opportunities. And somebody asked me what I do all day, I chase money. So this is a great opportunity. We hope to continue to bring it back and continue to be as successfully or more successful than we have in the past. Lastly, I just want to touch on, we're going to get back to, we got through the pandemic, we're going to get back to our annual meeting. That's going to be in 2023. I believe it's May 17th. That more to come. You're going to get a save a date out here in the next couple of weeks, but we really had a lot of success with that. We got shut down 2 weeks. Right after the pandemic, we shut it down. I know we had to cancel 2 weeks before everything got shut down, but we lost a little traction on that like we all have, but we'd like to get back. Great opportunity. I encourage everybody to be there at all our communities. We're lining up some speakers and we have some feelers out from people in Washington that are interested in coming to speak to us about, again, continuing to grow our efforts here. We're trying to focus on a housing strategy. We're focusing on immigration. We're focusing on economic development, ARC. So the final agenda is not quite ready, but we're building one out, and I think it'll be a strong conference again this year. More to come on that. Like I said, I will have a save the date out. I think I covered all my notes. I apologize for being all over the place. I think it's great where we're going. I think the future is bright for everything we're trying to do in these communities, and appreciate everybody's support. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, this month there are no general policy board resolutions for passage. Now I'm going to open it up for discussion or do you have any points of interest they want to bring before the committee? Ernest.
When we talk about the safe streets for all, will we have information on that to try to integrate that with the Appalachian program? You know, with showing this match potential.
No, it's right here. I'm not positive on that, Artie. I think they're two separate programs. We can see, I know we can match and we've been successful being able to pull their funds when it comes to the ARC, depending on what, one is a federal source and one is a state source. So hopefully we can match those. ARC is usually an easier one to put matches.
Will we be able to cite those as possible?
Well, sure, in-kind investment usually works, yes. I know you're not talking about monetary. In-kind investments usually work well on any type of matching funds.
You guys put that on the website, that application?
I'm sorry?
You guys have done that application, right? The safe streets for all?
Yeah, put it on, I believe we have, yeah.
Okay.
That was, that, George, that built out of the workshop we had here, and then we put an application in, but if it's not there, we'll put it there. I believe it is on our website.
And let me just go ahead and add, since Jim kind of brought up some stuff and kind of what you're getting into, I was trying to hit at it earlier with the MTP stuff, is we get those projects in there. Like I said, those unique ones that don't really have funding sources now. But then, Jim brings it up and brings up the IIJA that came through. And there's all these new pots of money for all these unique projects that if you go back 5-10 years, there's never a funding source for them. So that's really why we want to put that emphasis on anything you think you might do that has a tie to transportation, federal dollars, anything that we can do. You never know when a new funding source is going to pop up. We couldn't have expected the Safe Streets for All, the reconnecting communities. There's a lot of other ones related to stuff that we don't have as much of a tie in, but can still kind of steer you in that direction. So I guess it was just, since it came up in Jim's discussion and then already with what you're saying, just kind of worth re-emphasizing kind of what the point I was trying to get at.
Yeah, if anybody has ideas, crazy ideas, throw them out there. Part of just strengthening our team is, we brought in a coordinator just to be in charge of looking for opportunities for IIJA, Emil Zansky. He's in here all the time with us, working with our team, and then our team's looking, and Grant's done great research and trying to find additional opportunities. But it's important to know if there's something out there that we don't know about, we can't we can't match them together. So again, we always encourage anybody, if you have something, not like we can get it funded, but we can't get it funded if we don't know about it.
What is the anticipated announcement date for the Safe Streets for All?
I don't know how quick that was a turnaround.
Weeks. The initial, they were talking about December to January, but I know a lot of the hearing from the other people is most of the stuff, their initial announcement plans is falling a month or two behind. So a lot of people are thinking February, March.
Very competitive because as I was at these conferences, they asked who put in for that, every hand went up in the room. So, but we think we have a solid application.
Okay, any other items for discussion?
Yeah, so Jim mentioned strengthening our team, and I think this is a great opportunity to introduce someone who should be a familiar face, I think, to many of you, but Trisha Diavignon started with us just this week. She'll be under our planning and development section, kind of bridging the gap between some of our programs and working a lot on the transportation side, but really seeing how we could pull some development projects out of that and really do some good development work. She'll help out with Grant and his leadership on the EV charging plan and the bike bed study. You know, she'll also kind of cover the Go Ohio commute and air quality programs, take a look at you know, some of those programs and see how we could grow those and make those as best as they can, as well as helping us dive into some of the newer topics that Jim had referenced, like housing and repopulation and kind of some of these concepts that may be a little newer to our agency. So really excited to have her on board. She brings a wealth of experience and knowledge that I think will take us a long way and obviously work together with all of you.
Thank you, Justin. Welcome aboard, Tricia. Okay, anything else? Okay, there will be no December meetings, so everybody have a happy holiday. See everybody back here in January. That's it. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.